So what we thought we'd do for the last two parts of this national sales meeting is two things, really. We're going to bring in a general surgeon at the very end to close us out, Dr. Miata. I think it'd be great to hear from him. And then we want to take 1 hour and not talk about really advanced sales or Medicare competitive bids or just anything like that. Just take a minute and pause. And our theory is, in precision medical products, if we build really, really good people, right? If we build a talented group of hundreds of people, that those people build a great company. Does that make sense? So you build people, and those people build a great company. So I put together this, if you're taking notes, it's called the 10 Things That'll Change Your Life. And it's a culmination of 4 years that I spent at Harvard and MIT doing CEO programs. And I have a whole notebook. It's probably 400, maybe 500 pages of notes over 4 years. And it's the best things I learned from those programs over a 4-year period. And just being an EO, which is a CEO program for the last 7 or 8 years, I started to see a lot of commonalities. You guys ever hear a speaker speak and you've heard that before, or you hear another speaker speak, it's like a billionaire, and you're like, I feel like I've heard this before. And what I've noticed through I've met 7 billionaires now, been trained by 7 people that come in and spent a day or two with our CEO group that have been billionaires and built billion-dollar companies. And I don't want to say you get callous to it, but after a while you're like, we've heard this. It's like, it's not, there's little tidbits and things you pick up here and there, but you ever even imagine that like same analogy on the sales side? You hear like a sales rep speak and you're like, this isn't anything, I didn't get, there wasn't a one-liner that changed everything you did, but you might pick up something from the way they run it or motivation, and then that helps you. Does that make sense? So what I did, I'm in the middle of writing this book. It's like 3 years in the making, and I've got ADD. So ADD and writing a book are like the two worst combinations ever, because it starts off with like the journey of precision medical, and then it turns into like success principles, and then it comes back to like something totally different. I don't know. I had somebody pre-read it. It's like 80% done, and they're like, this is a shit show. They're like, this is not a book. This is like your thoughts on like hundreds of pages. So I'm like, all right. So that was a little buzzkill, but it's eventually probably, I don't know, we'll see what happens with it. Their advice, it wasn't a bad thing. They just said that this actually would be better to be like an online program that's like 26 master classes on like different concepts, like how to start a business, S Corp, C Corp, how to scale, infrastructure, stuff like that. Does that make sense? This would be a lot better for like actual online. And it's really good. It's just your brain's like all over them. Yeah, that's kind of how I think. So that's what this is going to be. You guys need to go on this ride with me. So 10 things that'll change your life. And this will help you be a better parent. It'll help you be a better spouse, better boyfriend, girlfriend. I think these 10 things will help you be a better entrepreneur, better salespeople. And what I want you to do is you're going through this 10 things. I'd like you to pick one thing at the very end that you focus on. Does that make sense? So if you focus on all 10, I don't think it'll impact you. I think if at the very end you can just pick one of the 10 and really try and apply it, take the notes and go through this. I'd like everybody to take notes and pick the one at the end that you really want to apply. Ready? Okay. The first one's my favorite. When I'm training a new sales rep, I've mentored a few entrepreneurs. Cody spoke yesterday. I've done a lot of mentorship with Cody, and we spent a lot of time on the mentorship side talking about mindset, because you can know everything in the world. Like some people in this room even have immense knowledge, but if you have like a horrible attitude, it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how much, what great strategy you have. You're bound for failure. Does that make sense? You ever meet somebody and you're like, dude, if you just change your fucking mindset, you would maybe accomplish something good. Like that's all you have to do. So I want to give you this analogy. So like, the other 9 things are great. If you apply them, you literally. Our goal is to have 20 people make $1 million a year. We've originally said we want to make 20 millionaires. which is also a goal. But we've made a lot of millionaires in our company through the sales side, and the goal is eventually get 20 people across the nation that are making $1 million+ in a year in commissions. And I think it's totally attainable. If you look at our curve that we're on right now and sales trajectories, that's a very attainable thing. So that's what this is all built around. Okay, so with that said, here's my analogy. I want to take 5 or 10 minutes and walk through this with you guys. So you can kind of maybe put your notepad down and just go on this little journey with me. So in my life, I've spent the last 10 years being cognizant of this, and I've separated a lot of friendships. I had people, and Tristan knows because we came from the same high school, and I don't want to date myself, but this was a fair amount of years ago that we were in high school together. And our group of friends was great guys, super fun. If you were to go traveling on vacation, these are the guys you want to go out with. But half of them were very negative. They didn't have life goals. Would try and give you the quick version of it. Just like super negative, like fun to be around, but they weren't motivated in life, and they'd always like kind of downplay stuff, like, oh, I wouldn't want to do that, or oh, you work too hard, or why are you working today? Let's take the day off, that kind of thing, you know. And in my life, I like to be surrounded by people that are pushing me, that are like, dude, let's go kill it. There's 2 more hours left today. Let's go accomplish big things. Does that make sense? You become like the people you're surrounded by. So this analogy I'm going to give you right here, this glass right here represents your brain, right? And this is kind of, so if we had, I think it'd be really interesting if you could ever do it where you walk around on Earth and you go, so if I look at Rob Roy, I could look right in his head and see if it's like, in this analogy, it's either, these are like clear thoughts, it's like you're focused, you got your goals, vision, you know where you're going, your positive mindset, you just have clarity. Does that make sense? So you've got your goals, but you also have clarity to get there. Make sense? And then there's times in life where you just have stuff going on. Like something happened to the home, there's something in a relationship. You guys ever have it where you sit down and you're like, even on a sales call, but you're just thinking about something else? You know, something else in your head. You're like, you can't get that other thing out of your head. So some of those things, let's kind of talk through it real quick. You guys can throw out stuff too. Be like an open dialogue. I've done this with a bunch of people, and people think about things differently, but there might be, you might have turned the TV on, you're like, to the presidential debate, and there's fucking yelling at each other. You're like, dude, I don't care what side, who you're voting for, it's like just negative. Do you agree? Yep. There's like negativity. And then you see, like, you turn on the radio, and they're like, we're most part California, and it's like, they're gonna raise income taxes 16%. Like, fuck that. Like, that is insane. Or you're like, jump on social media, right? I've done these and some girls be like, you know, like there's like, or even guys, will be like image things, like, oh, I'm not as good looking as this person, you know? Oh, that's like messes with your head. And then what else? I mean, I've got a list of like 50 things, but what's it? COVID. Oh, here, COVID. I'm gonna keep, COVID like lasted a long time, so we'll just, that could represent months of COVID. That's a good one. Yeah. Let me open a new can. Okay, what are some other ones? Like, what are some negative things? It doesn't have to be as big as COVID. It's like, what's that? Karens. Do you guys know what Karens are? Okay. So. Karens. Yeah, so like a Karen can be anything, but it's like you're having a great day, great conversation, talking about goals, and somebody's like, put your mask on. You're like, okay, all right, sorry. Does that make sense? It could be, so let's keep going. I got some others, but what are some, what is it? Traffic. Yes, I agree. Traffic. So, well, that's this over here. Sporting is different. Yeah, that's true. Sports could throw you either way, depending on if your team. As a Dodger fan, it was a good year. We have mostly clear thoughts over here. So I kind of joke aside, but what are some other things? Yeah, that's one of my top 3 actually. From your guys' perspective, is like, but you get it. So it's already full of negative thoughts, right? Okay, so what are some positive things you could do to become positive?
New account.
Okay, what do you mean though?
Winning a new account.
Okay.
Meditate. Peloton.
Will you open those two for me?
Exercise.
Oh, these are all great. Okay, who said Peloton? Okay, yeah, I did this morning. Peloton. So you get, Orion trained me in this a couple, 2 years ago. Like you get the blood flowing. I had it all the time in the morning. I'd be like, kind of like, it's like, just woke up. Like I'm not a morning person. And I wouldn't even want to run. He'd be like, you're running. And I'd be running. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you get a little bit of runner's high after like 10 minutes. Like I feel good all of a sudden. You ever feel that?
Yep.
It's like Peloton. So all of a sudden you get things going good. Okay, you guys got to throw out, I'm going to keep the water going. I'm going to show you this analogy how it works. So throw out positive stuff to me real quick.
Meditation.
Meditation, for sure.
Positive affirmations. This is a new day, new beginning.
New day, new beginning. Okay.
Prayer.
Somebody said church, prayer.
A clean puppy.
Family.
Okay, a puppy. I like that. Okay, what else? Cats. That's equal. Okay.
Spending time with your kids.
Spending time with kids.
Yep.
Okay. Vacation. Dessert. Cooler weather. What's some good things in life? It could be anything.
A good night's rest.
Money.
Money, yeah. Money can be good or bad. Yeah, exactly.
Giving. Giving, donating.
That was actually my top 10 list also.
Sales training.
Sales training, so a couple other ones. That's like my top ones, like how to change your mindset. And this book is like, it's weird, but just like giving back and helping somebody. It's funny, like helping somebody else makes you appreciate stuff, and just gratitude. So if I pour this out just a little bit, well, I'll show you. So like basically, you have all that stuff, and the analogy, the takeaway from this is this. So your mind's never. I think it's total myth, and it's kind of like I feel like it's, I don't want to say like snake oil salesman, but like some motivational speakers, like you just gotta be positive, right? It's like this. The only option is to be positive or negative. In my life, like I'm not usually like 100% positive or 100% negative. I'm kind of like a blend. Like I'm realistic about like some shit going on, but then I choose to take that stuff and make it positive. Make sense? And the win in it is, here, I'll have you open this one too. What you got to train yourself to do, and this isn't going to happen tomorrow or next month, it's probably going to take about a full year, is you got to learn like all the red cans, right? Those are negative people, negative things. Like people ask me all the time, have you seen this movie? Have you seen this show? I'm like, I don't watch TV very much, to be honest. I don't even watch the news. And I kind of wish I watched the news, but I don't ever like watch the news and feel better about myself, so I just don't watch it. I mean, I want to be kept up on like world events and stuff. So I'll sometimes search like Apple News real quick to see what's going on. But that's about it. I gotta stay off the news. Like that doesn't help me. And we went around at CEO forum, about 30 CEOs. One commonality between very, very high income producing CEOs, a lot of them don't watch TV. They'll watch news in terms of like stock market and finances, but they're not sitting there watching like the nightly news. Does that make sense? Just because it's like a negative thing. And so these red cans right here that represent, set them right here, that represent the negativity. It could be for everybody in here, all different things. The goal and the takeaway of mindset is you got to find things that are positive, right? And everything you guys just named, a lot of it's positive, negative. Money can be positive, money can be negative, right? People can be positive, people can be negative. Your spouse can be positive, your spouse can be negative. Everything can be positive or negative. The key is to build your life around positive people. So I've cut out a lot of people in my life. Like I was gonna say dozens, but probably hundreds of people in the last 10 years. I just mentally block them. I'm like, they shoot me a text, I'm like, hey, how's it going? Good. Like, I'm not gonna put any effort. I won't grab coffee with them. They're just kind of like, they don't make me sharper, iron sharpens iron kind of thing. And I just keep them over here, and I want to spend my life with people that pull me up. Like the balloon analogy, Tyler talks about balloons a lot. So I want to be with balloons and not rocks. Because you become like people you surround yourself by. If you're always with people that are like bitching and complaining, and I saw one of my friends last month, and I hadn't seen him for a long time, and I forgot how negative this person was. It fucking drained me. Like after like 4 hours with this person, I'm like, you ever be around somebody who's like, dude, I just need a break. Like, I just feel like you suck the fucking life out of me. And then he says to me, he's like, man, I miss being around you. I forgot all the positivity. And I feel like he reached in and grabbed my positivity. And then in return, I had to like take his negative. It's like the Star Wars thing where like, we just didn't battle over 4 hours just hanging out. And I'm like, dude, I can't do that. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. They just go through life and you don't realize that goes on, that transfer of energy. And this analogy is like you gotta kind of dump out some of those like bad people in your life just so you don't have to deal with it daily. Get the news out of your head. Maybe get off social media, or maybe limit your social media to like 20 or 30 minutes a day and just be in and out quicker so you don't deal with like some of that stuff. Whatever it is, people have totally different things in their life. But if you don't cut that out, if that always stays in, you're constantly dealing with that. You're trying to do this good versus bad thing. I think that's one of the big takeaways of mindset is eliminate these piece of shit humans that are over here. And I say that out of kindness because I love you guys. There's just negative people. And if they ever decide, I've even had talks with people in my family. I'm like, you're just very negative. Like, if you guys ever decide to be positive and then yeah, I want to hang around more, but I don't want to sit around like even like very, very close family, like very close. All they do is fight and bicker, and two of them are on drugs. It's like that's not how I want to spend my life, So I just choose not to be with them. But I do spend my time with like really successful CEOs, really sharp sales reps. I we said church. For me, that's important. And you start doing these like really important things, and it drowns out, like you just see it. If you just do it over and over, and this isn't one day or a month or anything, you keep pouring good in, like the Coke will come out. And what happens is like over the course of a year of just doing this, cut out shitty humans out. You don't have to be a jerk about it. You just not text them, I don't know, like delayed text, right? They text you just 2 days later, like, oh, sorry, behind a text, like really busy, But the big takeaway that'll change your life, and we'll talk about like 9 things you can do, but if you can just do this and you become like a clear mindset, all of a sudden like your vision and your goals and things become a reality, because now you start seeing stuff. You're like, wait, I can do this. I can accomplish really, really big things. Like I have some massive goals. Like if 10 years ago we were sitting in our garage in Roseville, California with like a bunch of random medical products that some of them weren't even very good. You said, hey, you're going to create a $100 million company. Like, yeah, right. This is like, we're in a garage, And over the course of time, though, it's like we spent time with really, really good people. I networked with like really, really great mentors. We hired great people. Tristan made a comment, like, man, like even that 2 nights ago, we were out. It was just so fun to go grab dinner, and we're all bouncing ideas off each other. He's like super fired up. We just got the Medicare competitive bid thing. And it's just like you get a bunch of positive people, and that night ended, we're like, dude, let's go kill the world. Like, we're going to go crush things. And we were so excited. And that's like, you got to build your world so that exists, because if you don't, like your mindset becomes cloudy, and it's really hard to accomplish goals. Does that make sense? So point number 1 is the longest. The other 9 points are not this long, so don't worry. But that's point number 1. So if you write it down, get back to the note thing. It's have a positive mindset, and really focus on that. The takeaways that are up here, try this. I know it sounds super cheesy. I have trouble with it too, but it's really weird to teach this. It's a positive affirmations. Some people need to do it, some don't. When Cody spoke yesterday, I love what he said. He's like, I never second guessed anything. He's like, I knew I was going to win that belt. Whenever he was like, I can't believe you won, this is amazing. He's like, I knew I was going to win this thing. Like, it's been pre-programmed in my mind for like 8 years. And I think when you have that mindset and that focus, with its positive affirmation, success, all that, which brings me into point number 2, if you're writing down, have a vision. So stat will blow you away, but out of every 100 people in the United States, 74 out of 100 hate their jobs. How many like suck to wake up every morning and hate your job? And I know what that's like, because after I graduated college, in college I sold books door to door, which some days I actually liked and some days I hated, right? But when I graduated, I became a stockbroker. And when I was a stockbroker, every day I hated. I hated going to work because I'd have to cold call people on the phone trying to sell people bonds and stocks and mutual funds. And I was like probably the 9th stockbroker to call them that month, like trying to call high net worth people. I did not like it. I didn't have a vision for where I wanted to be. And that's where I had some friends in medical, and why I left being a stockbroker and went into medical. So I'm like, this is amazing. Everybody in this room is so blessed. We get to start work every day and go help people, heal patients, change lives. Even if you're not very good at your job, it doesn't matter how much money you make, you get to spend your life waking up helping people heal and get better. Isn't that kind of cool? I think that's, yeah, amen. Yeah, clap to that one. Yeah, be good for that. So have a vision. If you're a sales rep, have a vision to get to a certain amount. If you're a distributor, have a vision of something you want to build. I know that people in this room have different levels in the company that they're at, but whatever it is, you need to have a vision. Number 3 is set big goals. So this is probably the biggest problem I see when I sit down one-on-one with people, is they set goals, but they're totally attainable goals, and they're not nothing big that really inspires them to dream and get better. You guys know what SMART goal setting is? You can write it down real quick. SMART goal setting. Who knows what it is? What is it?
Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based.
Yeah. So the only thing I hate about SMART goal setting, and it's good. It's definitely we use SMART goal setting, is the word attainable. I hate the A in there. It drives me every time I hear it. I'm like, oh, because like that's not the point of goals. The point of goals isn't like to have a person that does this and gets a little bit better. Does that make sense? The point is you want to set realistic quarterly goals, but you should have, they call it a BHAG. You know what a BHAG is? Yeah, I don't know who came up with this this term, but yeah, big, hairy, audacious goal. And the BHAG is something really, really big. So we as a company used to say for years and years, we want to become a $100 million company, right? Now when we sit in executive meetings, we say we want to be a $1 billion company. How do we get to $1 billion, right? And it changes our thinking. How do we get to $1 billion? And even when Bruce talks, it's like, we got a $1 billion COO, we got a $1 billion infrastructure, we have a $1 billion distribution channel. Like it's all set around the methodology of becoming a $1 billion company. So set big goals. This is the takeaway from here. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but there was a study done out of Harvard, and it said that, I was just looking at this with Greg, it was, what was the date on it? It's like 30 or 40 years ago. Do you remember the date?
I can look, but yeah, it's like something like 30 years.
Yeah, so we'll say 40 years ago, they went and tracked, and I actually learned this at Harvard when I was there. They took a class of all the business students, right? So these are people that are like, if you're at Harvard in the business school, you've probably done pretty well up to that point in life. And they tracked all of them. So there's like a subset of people. So out of every 1,000 people, there's a lot of people that are going into that business school, didn't really know what they wanted to do. They kind of went to business school to figure out what, maybe when I'm at Harvard, I'll figure my stuff out. And then after coming out at the very end of Harvard, 84% of them had no written or verbal goals. 13% of them had goals, but they were just verbalized, like I want to get into medical. I want to do this. And then only 3% had written specific goals. Does that make sense? The study that I heard at Harvard, and this is partly because they created a bunch of billionaires there, the 3% of the people that were there, that 3 out of every 100, made more than the other 97 combined. And it was like the power of having written goals that are specific and having a plan that gets you to them. Does that make sense? I know we teach this a lot, so you guys might be second nature for you, but for a lot of people across the United States, they just don't have goals at all, and they don't write them down. So it brings you to number 4. Have a plan and be strategic. One of my favorite quotes in life is people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. With this one, having a plan isn't what a lot of people think. Like if you say I want to get to $100,000 a month, it's reverse engineering that. It's like, how many accounts does that take? How many sales calls you have to get to that account? What's your call point? Are you going to use referral reps? Like you have a strategic plan and you ink all of that out. Number 5. This is, I just talked about the distributors. We just did our distributor meeting. I kind of hit this point with distributors. This was my number one biggest thing I learned in 2017. And this is the reason why, at the time, actually, Anthony Bradley was a VP and Chris Barton was a VP. And I realized at Harvard that it's called the theory of constraints. And the constraint at the time in 2017 in precision was that we only had 2 VPs across the whole nation. And if me and Mark wanted to go grow sales, and we have only 2 VPs, so the VPs were in charge of interviewing, hiring, and training, we're only going to grow as much as those 2. They could work 60, 70, 80 hours, but you only have 2 people in charge of that, right? So we need to build out the whole VP program and put 6 VPs in different territories around the United States, have better plans to grow. We've done that now. We have like a full VP program built out, and that was like the constraint on our company. On each of you guys in this room all have different constraints. We have identified, that was a 2017 constraint. So 2 years ago, maybe a little bit more, that's when we realized, me and Austin were like, hey, if we can ever be ahead, like how do we make a DVT unit that's not like everybody else, right? Okay, everybody has like a very similar DVT unit. That's when we came out with a remote patient monitoring and tying it into an app, and I came up with that. So like, if you just take a little bit of time as a sales rep and you actually think through like, what is your constraint? Is it sales calls? Is it paperwork? Is it are you not getting in front of enough doctors? Maybe it's referral partners. Like everybody has one thing that's holding them back, and if you identify that and focus on it and fix it, it will change your whole business. So that's the theory of constraints. Okay, number 6. We talked about this when we were talking about mindset. One thing I love about the culture of PMP and what we do is giving back. We give back to employees, we give back and help patients, we give back to people that are less fortunate. We talk a lot about the orphanage we sponsor, and it is so important in life. Like let's say you go and you do super well in life, but then you ever see those you see it all the time on TV, but like people that are very successful and end up committing suicide? It's kind of crazy. It's like you build this huge company and then you commit suicide, or you're this big celebrity. Remember that one year where there was like 3 or 4 people back to back that all committed suicide? Like I think Anthony Bourdain, and then there was that the woman that was like the $1 billion designer. Like all that happened within like a 45-day period. What's that? Do you remember who it was? Kate Spade. Yeah. And I'm like, man, that just tripped me out. Like you're so successful. Amazing. You seem very, very happy. Like I had seen Anthony Bourdain in his show a couple times. Like, it seemed like the guy had the best life ever. Like, what is that, you know? And I believe that, and I've spent a lot of time in Hollywood. We're making this documentary right now, and there's a selfishness in Hollywood because it's about them and about like who you can become and you and you and you. And I think when you have that mindset over not only like months but years and years and years, it messes with your head, and then because it's all about you. And if you take time out of your life and you set aside time, not only financially, but from a service perspective, like you go volunteer. It doesn't matter what your religion is or what, like, so whether it's a church, it could be at an animal shelter, it could be an old person's home, it could be anything, right? But just giving back and helping other people, you feel so good about that. And we talked about going into prisons and doing like a ministry program there, or just whatever it is that inspires you. It doesn't matter. But the irony is, in the Bible it says like it's better to give than it is to receive. It's kind of a weird thing, right? Like by you giving, that's better than you even getting any gift. That's really weird to think about. And so I'm like basically telling you guys to go give so that way you feel better, And it is a paradox, but it's so true. Like people that I know that give back are the happiest people. So, and that'll hit my slide number 9 when I hit the end. Slide number 7. So I'm kind of hitting a bunch of random stuff, but this is my, this is the number one thing I think that people miss in terms of like being successful, and why you meet like incredibly sharp people that just never do anything in life. They know everything, they can tell you everything, You ever sit down with somebody, you're like, dude, you know all this. I'm not teaching you anything, but you suck. Like, you haven't accomplished anything, but you know everything, right? And it's this one principle. It's like, it's the power of execution. So let me read this to you real quick. This is from one of the CEO forums I'm at, and this is like really, really impactful people that have built billion-dollar companies, $100 million and bigger. Some of these are Fortune 500 companies from Fortune 500. The CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are on this forum. And this is like an email that was sent out to all the CEOs. It says, it seems that really successful people are not in possession of any insight that is hidden from the rest of us, except for the fact that they act on it. Not weird, like, it's just certain people execute, certain people get things done. And the clip, this is a excerpt from it, but they had a bunch of videos attached, and it says, check out these 2 interviews with Steve Jobs in which he observes that the best don't hesitate to ask for help. One simple fact that made all the difference for him. You watch these videos and it's like, they just come up with an idea. Like Steve would come up with an idea, he'd put a team around it, and they were committed. They're like, we are executing on this, we're gonna find a way to make this happen. They put timelines in, and they would go to it. Does that make sense? And this, I know that sounds really, really simple, but if everybody did that, you guys would all be $1 million reps. Like that one thing. You would figure it out. Everybody in here is sharp, whether it's through ASCs or clinics or spine or ortho, or like I've seen people do it all different ways. It's just where there's a will, there's a way. And if you just put your head down, it's really important you execute, it happens. Don't overthink it. I think sometimes we overcomplicate what we do, and you just go out there and crush it. And it sounds like really simple, but it summarizes right there. A lot of times there's no hidden insight. Point number 8. So we talk about this a lot, and I think this is one of the biggest things in my life that's changed my happiness and just overall like life satisfaction is you become like the people you're surrounded by. So if you wrote down real quick on this line or maybe to the side on a separate thing, write down the 5 people that you hang around most real quick. Just write, don't overthink it, because whoever you hang around with, you hang around with. You can't be like, I don't want to put that person's name down. If you hang around them, you hang around them, you know. So, and most people, they say, are either a plus or a minus. And you kind of know. I really like them, but this person's a minus. And then there might be like, this person's not that fun to party with, but man, they are really sharp. They make me better. It's definitely like, I get better in life with this person. Does that make sense? There is a plus or minus. If you write down those 5 people that you spend the most time with in life, and maybe they're, I've heard some people do the analogy where they'll go like the 3+ system. So these are super amazing people, plus, and these are super negative. So they're kind of add it all up, and it shows you, I don't believe this to be true, so I didn't put it up there, but there's a quote that says, you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with, kind of thing. I don't think that's like totally true, but I'd say maybe directionally correct. Like you do become like people you surround yourself by. So it's a little test for you to put down. Write those 5 names of people that you do spend the most time with, and are they positive or negative? Do they make you a better person, or do they not? It's just a little test for life, and maybe get something out of that. Okay, my last 2 are my favorite. Make sure I'm good on time real quick here. Let me grab this. Okay, good. Okay, so the last 2, Rob, will you do me a favor, text your doctor, tell him 3rd floor. So the last 2 are the way I want to end this, because I think the first one is all about mindset, and if you got mindset, the next like number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are all like strategy stuff, like goals, plan, have sharp friends around you, all that. This is like to bring your life back. So everybody sets like 1-year goals, 2-year goals, 5-year goals. So it'd be really interesting. Think about this, if you could go on this mental journey with me. So we go, you fast forward to the end of your life, right? So you live to be 85 years old, and you want to look back at 85 in your whole life. What do you want that life to look like? And the thing that's interesting, I've done this with a bunch of people, it is totally different. If we took like 2 hours and went around and had everybody explain what they want their life to look like, you would be amazed that it's not the same thing. Like, people want totally different things out of life. It's not better or worse, it's just everybody's different. Like, we have different blood types, different mindsets. Every human's different. So you have to build out what is your life. There's a quote. Have you guys ever seen the Matthew McConaughey award speech where he talks about his hero? Oh, I love it, man. It's so good. It gives me chills every time I hear it. And he talks about his hero is him in 10 years. So the person he looks up to is himself 10 years from now. He's always chasing himself, just the 10-year version of himself. And I've thought a lot about that the last like 2 years, and I kind of related it to this because it was hard for me. I'd pick somebody, let's say, I don't want to pick on anybody. Let's say Bill Gates, right? You just pick somebody, like, this guy's super successful. I'm like, I don't want to be at all like Bill Gates. Dude does not inspire me at all. You listen to Bill Gates, you're like, no offense, I think anybody loves Bill Gates, but I'd maybe grab coffee with Bill Gates for an hour, pick his brain, but like, I don't want to go spend the weekend with Bill Gates. I mean, after like, does that make sense? It's not like, I don't aspire to be Bill Gates. Some people do. Like, everybody has different heroes. So whoever your hero is, I like the analogy of chasing yourself, because then you're not comparing yourself to anybody, and then you also don't set yourself up for failure, right? And the advantage of that is, so in life, what I found is people that are really, really good at one thing, sometimes aren't good at the others. Like, I've met a lot of really, really successful people. Like, when I say successful, in the billion number, but they're divorced. They've been divorced 2-3 times. They're like 100 pounds overweight. They're spiritually empty. They're super arrogant and cocky. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're like, okay, you did really well in this finance category, and you did really well in the career category, but you're a total dick. Nobody likes you. You got no friends. Your relationships, you've been divorced like 3 times. Your kids won't even talk to you. You're overweight. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know if that's like a good role model, but at the same time, they're really good at business. Does that make sense? So you got to think about this wheel of life and how you want to build it out for you. So I give you an analogy for me and kind of how I role model mine. And mine's not, I'm not saying, this is just for me, like everybody's different. But so for me, investing's important. We talk a lot about building acquisitions. We're already at 150,000 square foot of this Dallas distribution center goes through. We have a 17,000 square foot office building. We have a 77,000 square foot distribution center in Lincoln. We mostly rent it out to other companies that takes up a majority of the space and it pays us rent. And then we now have a new distribution center that should be going through in Dallas that's 55,000. And me and Bruce have a whole plan of how to get to 100,000 square feet, or sorry, 1 million square feet by 2030. That's something that fires me up. For you guys, it may not fire you up. It doesn't, But for me, I'm like, I want to look back 10 years from now, 2030, and be like, we own 1 million square feet of real estate. Like, I think it's just a good investing strategy. So that's the person I want to role model it after. I would want my role model to travel the world, to go to different countries. I'd want them to own companies and make an impact. I want them to have like lifelong friendships. I want them to have a solid marriage. It's another interesting thing. This is kind of like polarizing. Everybody always says they want their kids to love them. I mean, you'll never meet anybody, for the most part, you won't meet people that are like, you don't want your kids to love you, right? But how often do you see kids that after they graduate high school and college, like, they don't really even want to be around their parents anymore, And for me, like, I want to create with my kids something where like I have a really good relationship with them, and they want to come back. Like, we want our families at Christmas and Thanksgiving and holidays. Like, people look forward to being together. Because I didn't have that. My family's divorced, very dysfunctional family, and I don't look forward to being with them. So I want to create this, my family to be something like where everybody wants to be together. Does that make sense? So it's like it's important to me. So you go through this for yourself, and as you go through, give back to those that are less fortunate, be healthy. That's how I grade myself. Raise your hand if you've done this wheel of life. Raise your hand high. There's like 8 of you. have you graded yourself on like a in-depth level for every category? Raise your hand. Okay. So what was, for you guys, there's like 4 of you that have done it. What was your one takeaway from doing it?
I scored a lot lower. I had to focus on certain things, but it's not well-rounded.
Okay.
And there's less of the enriching soul stuff. It's more like family, there'll be family, work, and fitness, but then the stuff that really builds the future wasn't there.
Okay, that's good. Appreciate your honesty. Greg?
Yeah, I think mine was pretty imbalanced. And so it was just, kind of like what Amy said, it's just, you really see, if you challenge yourself and you're really honest with it, right?
Yeah.
And you see where you're not spending time in your life. And so then I think, for me, it kind of asks that question, okay, I'm not spending time in these areas. Is it something that I feel at my core I should be spending time in? Right? And then that. So found that as pretty unfulfilling. Couple items.
Yeah, I felt that it wasn't as balanced as I thought it would be, after going through it, honestly. And then, I think, I have a large family, so it's hard to spend one-on-one time with all my kids.
Hmm.
So, for me, I noticed I was imbalanced because I do a lot of things with my boys because they do a lot of the activities I like to do.
Yeah.
Just seeing that I'm like not spending as much time with others.
That's a huge takeaway. And think about that you caught that now as opposed to catching that in 10 or 20 years, So I do this quarterly, and it's something it just sticks out, and I try and do like one thing at the quarter. So let's say coming out of COVID, hypothetically, I put on more weight than I should have. This is a hypothetical, not that this happened. I might say health is important because my body is trending at a rate that if I keep going at this rate will be very bad. So we gotta tweak that, right? We don't want that to keep going on. We gotta change habits. So for me, doing this quarterly is good. And you just pick one. They say to pick one thing. You can do 4 quadrants in a year. You can do all 8 in 2 years, and you can change dramatically. I do agree when you try and pick 2, 3, 4 quadrants, it's tough, So you pick one thing and then hyper focus and really try and bring that. So when you do it next quarter, you're like, that's now at 10. I've got that thing nailed. And once you do that, you become more well around. The principle on it, the takeaway for everybody, you write this down. If you're balanced, you don't have to be. By the way, you don't have to be like 10s everywhere. But it's just like if you've got like 5, 6, 7s all the way around, and you're pretty balanced in general. You don't want to have like 0, 1, 2, 3 kind of thing, like anything like super, super low. If you're balanced in general, everything's good. You ever notice that? Like, sales calls are easier when life at home's good. It's easier to be focused and have goals when you don't have other issues going on. For me, like going to church once a week or jumping the Bible, reading, praying, meditating, whatever it is, like I feel a little more centered, and then my mindset's better, and because of that, I feel like I have more clarity and confidence. It's like it doesn't take a lot of time. Most of this stuff is not like what Mark said, like intentional time with your kids. Like that might be like a daddy-daughter day, right? Mark, one night, and it's like that's 2 hours. It's not a big deal. It's like one night. You go out there. I have 4 kids. Mark beat me. He's got 5, so we've got a little bit more to do. But and we've had this talk before too. I've had times where I'm like, I need to spend more time with my kids, but you just do it, and then 3 months later, it's fixed. So, but a lot of people don't do this. They never look at this for a decade, and then things fall apart over long periods of time, right? So that's number 9. Number 10 is the last one. Before I click over to the last one, because we hit on it a tiny bit yesterday, this is my favorite one. I think it couldn't be better timing for this group because it's harvest time where we're going in. So before I get into it, it's going to contradict what I just said. And I want to explain it real quick. It's important in life to be balanced, right? But nobody in life that's super balanced ever accomplishes anything great. You don't sit there, like they don't interview Michael Jordan. He's like, I lived a very balanced life. I spent 2 hours with the family in the morning. I went to church for an hour. And it's like, they're not balanced people, right? So if you want to accomplish anything great, Number 10, the last point, and I love Cody, obviously, one of my best friends in the world, so I threw Cody's picture up there. It could have been any athlete, but anybody who accomplishes anything really, really, really great in life, like breaking records, accomplishing huge things. When Greg Murray broke the all-time rookie record of PMP, he did not live a balanced life at that time, you know? And that's what we work on now, is like getting to the point where it is more balanced. But for certain segments of life, it's funny how the 12-week year, we talk about that from sales, UFC fighters, athletes. The whole 12-week year was built on Olympians and their training program. They do 12 weeks of training at a time, and they segment it and push everything into 12 weeks, and then take a week off, then work on new skill sets again in 12 weeks. And it's the same methodology. What I want to end with and challenge you guys is you can accomplish amazing, amazing things. When I owned the company, and we're going on 11 years now, but years 3, 4, and 5, we were number 1 fastest growing company in Sacramento. We had a lot of money coming in. We took that money and we always reinvested in the company. I wish Ryan Parks was here or Bruce. They could attest to it, but we have for every $100 that's always come into Precision, we've put $99 back in. We pulled out less than 1% of profit in the company in 10 years. And the reason we did that is because we had big goals and big vision of the company to grow it to be something really, really impactful. Does that make sense? And if you are maybe balanced, like a balanced thing would say pull 10% of profit out, reinvest that to other things, and be diversified, right? The biggest and best companies weren't diversified in the beginning. They believed in what they did and they put everything into that. Does that make sense? So I think the balance thing sometimes works in general over an 85-year life. You want to be balanced, but you have to have segments of your life. So if you, there's a lot of young people in here, and if you can just take, I'll give you this example right now because of harvest time. If you just took 3 months out and you, let's say a normal schedule was like a normal American schedule is 9 to 5. Like you work from 9 to 5, but then at 5 o'clock you're done, you're with family, right? Imagine if you did something different. Imagine if you woke up at 5:30 in the morning, you started at 6, you were out the door, you drove, you got Starbucks, you were at your first ASC, because ASC started earlier, you had coffee, you were doing your meetings, and you were just jamming. And normal person sees 10 accounts a day, you're like, I'm gonna see 20, right? And you have this mindset, you're like, I'm gonna do 2 to 3 times what anybody else does in a short window. There's something really, really powerful. On here we wrote, it's called the slight edge theory. Tony Robbins talks about this. Like the reason why in Major League Baseball somebody can have just slightly better batting average, but the average Major League Baseball player is making $1 million, and then this person's making $17 million a year. He's making 17 times what all the other people is, and his batting percentage is just a fraction of percentage higher, right? All because for a Major League Baseball team, they're like, if we can get every player to be a fraction a little bit better across the league, we can win the championship. It's a slight edge theory. Same thing happens on all of sports, same thing happens in business. You guys compete every day with 2, 3, 4 other reps. If you're just slightly better and a doctor says, I don't know, there's something about Tristan I like just a little bit better, I'm gonna go with him. Makes sense? Over a competitor. It didn't take a lot, it was just a little bit. There's something about you that nobody else had. And I promise everybody in this room, I told the story of the distributors earlier. The biggest reps we have in the nation, Mike and Danielle, have a beach house. And this beach house, I was at it, it's been like about a month ago. And they'll spend 100 days at this beach house next year. And I'm like, that's inspiring, actually. Most companies would say, you know, why are you not working more? That's a lot of days at your beach house, you know? And for them, they've set up infrastructure. They've put on these 80, 90, 100-hour weeks for years and years. They built something really, really big where they're making millions and millions of dollars. They'll make $3 million next year in profit, and they get to live a really, really good life. But it's not because of what they did now. It's because what they did the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in the making. Does that make sense? They built that, and awesome. Like props to them for doing that. But here's the thing, you guys a lot of people don't do. There's extreme over here, what they did. You guys work it like a normal people in here, they promote normality. Normality doesn't do shit for you. Like, if you do the normal job the way all your competitors do, you're gonna get normal results. It's not bad. Like, you'll probably make 120 grand a year. It's nothing bad. You know, I know our average is 320,000 for a sales rep that's been here for at least 2 years, and it's higher than in medical. I mean, Greg can attest. Like, our numbers are a lot higher than when you recruit out there, because we don't work it like a normal thing. So in closing, what I want to challenge you guys, and that sounds crazy, but you'd have to go home and you talk to your spouse. You're like, you know what? I've got big goals in life, and instead of me doing the normal job, what I want to do is put my head down for 3 months, and I want to treat this like I'm going off to like a fishing ship in Alaska, you know, or I'm going to wherever it is. I'm not here. I'm going to be a horrible husband, right? That sounds weird. Bear with me here. I'm not going to be the best father, you know. I've had this talk, and the irony is, like I told Marianne, like, I probably missed more of my kids' school plays and stuff than probably any other dad in the group. But my kids have also, like, they go to Hawaii they go to Newport a couple times. They literally do vacations with a beach house. They walk on sand. Like, they get stuff that we're building a house with an 86-foot fucking water slide. It has 86 feet of water slide that comes down into this pool with a 15-foot garage. They get shit that no other kid gets. You know why? Because their dad misses a few school plays. I mean, it's fucking good trade in my book, you know? And that's how it works. But the thing is, people don't have that mentality. Like, I think that's this rare group of people, and that's how I want to end this, is challenge you guys. Like, it doesn't come for free. Like, the reason I'm standing up here and telling you this and promoting it is there's been weeks where, months, years, we put hundreds and hundreds of hours in. But on the flip side, if you follow me on social media, I'll work really, really hard, and then I'll take a week and I'll go vacation, have a great time, you know? And I'll come back and I go right at it again. And it's like, people know, they're like, I'm getting lit up by Jeremy at 6 in the morning and just, what do you have coffee like at 5:30? Like, I go really, really hard, and then we have like a lot of fun. Does that make sense? And I think the thing that people in this room don't do is they're afraid to like turn it up a little bit. And it doesn't have to be for 2 years or 5 years or anything, but just a 3-month window. If you did like what Cody does, he just puts his head down for 3 months, trains 3 times a day, his food schedule's dialed in, every single meal is measured out, he's got his physical therapy, he's got the masseuse, everything, his days are just planned out. He can tell you every single thing that guy's gonna do for a 90-day period, and he just follows it. He's like, I'm gonna commit to it, and then he beats the shit out of people. I mean, you look at him fight, like, amazing. But he is like 100% committed when he does it. And I think if we took that same methodology in here, you've seen it. Do you guys see Greg Murray do that? Like, you guys heard him and saw him on the calls do that. And that was super motivating to so many people. And I would just challenge you, like, think about that. What if you actually committed for 90 days to just do this, everything possible? I'm gonna do thank you cards. I'm gonna make sales calls. I'm gonna write paperwork. I'm gonna meet with referral partners. I'm just gonna fucking go crush it for just 90 days. And after that 90 days, see what happens. Does that make sense? And you don't have to keep on that. You don't have to keep on thinking. But what'll happen is, because you did that for 90 days and you go to pause, I actually, if you do this for 90 days, I encourage you to have a week where you just take off. Make sense? Work really, really hard, and then have somewhere you go and take a break and enjoy life. What'll happen is you'll be so motivated because you accomplish these big things and you did great things. Now you got doctors who want to work with you. You got referral reps calling. You'll have so much momentum going into it that you'll be able to carry on that and the next quarter again. Does that make sense? And whatever you decide to do, it doesn't have to be 90-hour weeks. It doesn't have to be, you can choose your schedule how it is, but nobody does it where they fucking put their heads down and really give it their all, like 100%. It doesn't happen. Something magical happens. I can't explain it, but the people, Kristen knows you worked with Tyler Smith. Tyler's like that. He'll just put his head down and I'm gonna just crush everything. When you have that mentality, certain things happen, and it's so weird to explain. It's like your closing rate goes up. People they see your energy. They're like, man, Rob's in a hurry. He's got to get things done. We like working with Rob. Like, and great things will happen. So I want to end with that. It's called the last point, intentional imbalance, slight edge theory. If you can apply that and just try it, there's no better time of the year than do it than harvest time, end of the year, and big things will happen. You'll surpass. If you're a rookie, you'll blow through other rookies in your class. You'll start competing with people who've been here 2-3 years. It makes a huge difference. So that's it. Thank you, guys. I think we're gonna do a 10-minute break.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is it hot in here? Is it hot or is that just me?
Oh, it's definitely, it's been freezing in here.
This is a jacket, dude. Oh.